Hey guys, Dragan here from MuseShop.net, and today I'm very proud to present you the most powerful, most adjustable, and simply the coolest responsive menu widget for Muse. Once you start using this menu, you will never need another menu for your Muse projects. So let me show you what it can do. Firstly, it has two states, so when you scroll, it completely changes its appearance. Then it has custom effects for main hover, for sub hover, and for sub hover. It's fully responsive. As you can see, when I stretch my browser window, it changes and then it turns into a mobile menu, which also has two states, and which also has sub menus, special hover effects, and which is also fully responsive and reacts with your page width. The menu is styled to the last detail you see. As you can see, it's styled for 5 different layouts. And that's just the beginning, because you can style the menu to whatever you can imagine. Let me show you another demo. This is the same widget with different effects. It can be light as well. And you can style it yourself to literally whatever you like. So this is the one and only Muse Responsive Menu Ultimate. Okay, so let's head back to Muse and see how the widget works. The menu widget has 3 components. First is the widget itself, where you do most of the settings. Then we have the desktop menu and then the mobile menu. So firstly, drag the widget itself on the canvas. Then we're gonna pull in the desktop menu. And one important thing, the best way this menu works is to have the same breakpoints as the MuseShop.net default Muse file, which you can get on our website and which you receive with this widget. Or if you don't have these responsive points, you should set your main breakpoint width to 1920 pixels. And when you drag our menu widget in here, it will create the remaining breakpoints for you. So the next step is crucial to positioning the menu. The cool thing with Muse 2017 is that you have this icon over here, which allows you to drag in a library object with its own breakpoints. So that's what we're gonna use. So click on this icon, drag your menu, and try to place it at the topmost left corner. So when you release, it'll say 0 for X and Epsilon values. As you can see, we have 0 here and 0 here, so we've managed. And here we have our menus, and they're already perfectly positioned for all breakpoints. Now what we need to do is where you notice the main menu disappear, that's on the 1000 pixels breakpoint. That's where we're going to drag in the mobile menu. So click on this icon for the component 3 and drag it to the top left, as you did with the desktop menu, and release. The next important thing is to mind the layers. We want to put these two into our mobile menu layer, so I'm gonna move it there. With our default Muse file you have it, but if you don't have it, in layers create a new layer and take a look at how we organized our layers. So we have master menu, mobile menu, we have the overlay, the footer, the content, and the underneath. You can take a look and create these layers for yourself. But as I said, if you use our default Muse file, you already have them. Then we're gonna go back to our desktop menu, and you see the mobile menu has disappeared. Then select the menu like so. Drag over everything over here. Make sure you select everything and click on Object, move to Layer, Master Menu. It's already positioned as it should be. And I usually put this into the overlay layer. Okay, so let's preview what we got for now. As you can see, it's already half set up. we've used the most common setup for a menu you can find on a website. So instead of demos, this would be the home page, then about us, services, this would be the portfolio, and this can be the contact. Then we have the social menu. And if you don't see these icons when you export, it's because we've used an icon font. And to install the icon font, you can Google install icon fonts in Muse and add MuseShop.net. And after you install the Font Awesome icon font, these icons should appear. Font Awesome was also used for the e-commerce menu. So as you can see, we have the main menu items, the social menu items, and the shop button. We also have submenus and sub-submenus for each item except for the last one. And when you resize, as you can see, the menu is already working its magic. And for the submenu, we also have the basic setup already waiting for you. To do the basic changes to the main menu, you have to click on it, and the menu itself is actually in a wrapper. So we're gonna drag this wrapper like this, and then we can access the menu. If you still can't access it, you can also resize this. Then you would edit this the same way as you would edit a normal Muse menu. So let's say I want to add a 6th button. I would resize this like the wrapper like this. Then I would click over here and create another button. And let's say I want this to be contact. You can link each item to any page you like or any outside link. To add a submenu button, you would click on it until these marks appear, and then click the plus icon to create more menu items. Same goes for the sub-submenu items. You can change the font, of course, and for the submenu as well. And don't change the colors. We're gonna do that through this widget. And why is that? It's because the menu has 2 states, as you can see, which means you can't control the colors of the second state in Muse because this menu actually has 8 states. It has normal, hover, mouse down, and active state for both of these states, and we call this initial state, and when we scroll we call this the after state. So we've added our button. Now you can see the menu size over here, it's 619 and 19, so we will resize this to 619. And when you're closing the wrapper, make sure to go over the menu until this dashed line appears. Now just check that everything's okay on the other 2 breakpoints where the desktop menu appears. So as you can see, our newly created button has breached the wrapper. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna enlarge it like this, downward, then click on it, and it's 619. So let's make it 619. And again, close the wrapper. From 1000 pixels and below, the mobile menu appears, so we have successfully edited our desktop menu. Now let's edit the mobile menu. Click on the 1000 pixel breakpoint, and here we also have a wrapper. That's the first thing you touch. And remember this, 64 times 30, that's the width and height of the wrapper. We're gonna say 2000 over here and 3000 over here to expand it completely, and since it's pinned, it won't affect our page layout even if it's on the master page. Now we can access the mobile menu widget. Click here until you see this icon appear and click show lightbox parts while editing. And now our mobile menu appears. Now if we click again and again and again, we've reached our target area. And inside this target area, if we enlarge it, here is actually our accordion mobile menu. Now what you want to do, if you want only these 5 links to work in your mobile menu, you would click on this and delete all these other guys inside here. Let me just show it to you. Or click on one and select all and then delete. And then you would resize this as low possible as you can, and then you would click on this and apply link to that button. So I'm gonna undo this change, and if you want to use the submenu buttons and if you want to add more, you can. you can simply resize this accordion content area, click on any button, and using the Alt button, click and drag to duplicate it, and hold the Shift as well, and then you place it to be aligned as the other elements. If you have a lot more, let's say like this, you can select all, click on the first one, and then in the Align menu, you can type in -1, because they all have the border beneath, so we want to align them perfectly. And click Vertical Distribute Space. And we've aligned our menu items. So we now have, I believe, 7 menu items. You can't double click on this, because you'll be stuck in a wrapper. How you access it is you click and then click and click and click. So slow clicking until you reach what you want to reach. And then you can double click finally over here. And let's say this is 5. And let's rename this to 6 and this to 7. And the final thing you do with this is, since we've edited it, it means it will change its appearance on these 2 breakpoints as well, and we don't want to mess with our appearance. So always set up this menu on this breakpoint, and when you're finished with adding buttons, take the accordion content area and pull it over the menu item so it snaps to its bottom. Now once you've done that, you have to do this for every accordion content area that you've edited. Click on one of the objects and then select all. You can do it by edit and select all, or control A, and then click over here. Object, copy size and position to all breakpoints. And again, if you edited the text, click Object, copy text formatting to all breakpoints. And then we're gonna copy the size and position of all other elements of the menu, starting from the most inner ones to the most outer ones. So these are our most inner elements. Next we click on the content area, then click Object, copy size and position to all breakpoints. Then you can close this, and after you've done that for this and for other items where you have submenus, you can click outside and then click on the accordion itself. You'll notice it says accordion over here, and click Object, copy size and position to all breakpoints, and Object, copy text formatting to all breakpoints if you change the text. Finally, we're gonna drag this target area over our last button so it snaps to the bottom, and for it as well we're gonna say Object, copy size and position to all breakpoints. Now that we're finished editing our menu content, we can close this menu by clicking here and untick the show lightbox parts while editing. And if you remember, our wrapper was 64 by 30, so we're gonna do this. Now I know this all might seem too complicated for you, but have in mind that menu is actually the most complicated composition on every website, and the beauty of it is to make it look like it was a breeze to make. But once you get over this tutorial and follow these instructions, you'll get a hang of this menu and you'll be able to make the edits in a couple of minutes. Our point is to make a superb menu which you won't ever have to change design-wise. Okay, so let's preview what I've done. As we can see, we now have 6 items in our top menu, and they all have these custom effects. When I resize, you have to pay attention for your menu items not to overlap your logo. You can also set this by squeezing the menu. Let me show you. If you resize the wrapper, like this and like this, you can actually squeeze this menu and make it more narrow. I'm gonna undo this change. So over here, we have our menu turned into mobile menu, and as you can see, this is perfectly fit. One other cool thing about our mobile menu is that it's height sensitive. So what you can't do in Muse and can do with our menu is have this additional scroll bar appear in case you have a lot of sub menu items over here. And let's see what happens when we scroll to the next point. Because we've copied the size and position from our 1000 pixel breakpoint to all others, we now have the same styling here. Otherwise, you probably know it would look all messed up. Okay, let's close this and let's go to the mobile breakpoint. Here as well, we have that. And if I resize my height, you'll notice this. The menu itself has this scroll which enables you to reach the other menu items without having problems with the touchpad because the menu itself is pinned. And as you can see, the menu's height is also responsive. Okay, that's how you set up the menu structure. Now let's go into the effects and styling. First thing you'll notice I didn't change was the colors. And now I'm gonna show you the things you control through the widget itself. Click on the widget settings and you'll notice the sections. First we have the menu background. And by the menu background, we're considering this object that is below our menu. That's the stripe that goes all across our website. That's the menu background. And to set it up, you don't have to worry which color is it in Muse. We've just put black so you can see it when you start adding some content. And here is actually where you set up all the colors, opacity and much more. So let's say we want to have a blue menu. Let's choose a blue color. Then we see the opacity for our main background, and pay of course attention always what you're editing. This is the initial state. And as I told you, we have the initial state, and when we scroll we have the after state. So this is for the initial state, and let's set opacity to 1. Then we have the underline color. I don't know if you noticed, here you can see a subtle underline. That's actually the part of our background, and we can change it as well. So if we use this color, let's give it a lighter blue for the underline. I'm gonna give more accent here so you can see it. Don't worry about the styling right now. And we have the underline opacity as well. Let's put that to 1 as well. Then we have the social menu divider color. These are the social menu dividers. These vertical 2 lines over here. And the best effect is achieved if you set it to be the same color as your underline color. So we're gonna copy this color and put it for our social menu divider color as well. And let's give it opacity of 1 as well so you can see it clearly. And then we have the after state. Let's say we want to turn this blue background into a red background. Again, don't worry about the styling. We're not creating a marvel here. I'm just showing you the effect. And let's have our background in the after state after people have scrolled down the website. Let's give it an opacity of 0.5 and let's change our underline color to bright red with no transparency, and we'll do the same for our dividers. Let's preview what we just did. So here, as you can see, we have the blue menu. It's a bit crooked now since I changed the position of it, but we have our blue menu with super light blue lines, and when we scroll, our menu becomes red. Now you can start to see the potential of this widget. Okay, let's go back in. Then we have our main item color. And what we mean by main item is this, where it says demo, about us, services, contact us. And as you can see, it already has a hover effect. So maybe the best practice here is not to give any color to these items, but instead choose one of our cool hover effects. And we have several of those ready for you. So, as you can see, we've turned off all the color for the main menu items. If we by any chance give our menu in the initial state item color to be orange, and it won't be transparent, and if we link one of our buttons to this page, we're currently on the home page, and let's just resize this. Now if we preview, you'll see that our active button is orange in the initial state, as you can see over here. But when we scroll, since we told it not to have color, it loses the color in the after state. Okay, let's move on. That's the menu items. I'm gonna turn this color off, but you can use it if you like. Then we have the menu item text, and that's the text of our main menu for the desktop version. So it's currently set, so as I said, you have the initial state and the after state, and you have 4 states for both of these states. That's why I said we have 8 states in fact. I'm not going to change this setup because I think you already get the hang of it. So you have the text color in normal state, hover state, mouse down and active state. And when the users scroll down your site, then you have the after state, and you can have completely different colors over here. And the one additional thing you have for the main menu items is the text shadow opacity, which means they already have the text shadow and you can emphasize it or remove it. If you don't want your main menu items to have shadow, put this at 0. And if you want them to really see it, you can go up to 1, which is the full opacity of the text shadow. I don't know if you notice, but in our initial state, all the items have a very subtle shadow, which disappears in the after state. Okay, moving on. Then we have our sub-menu item. And our sub-menu item is the item that reveals itself when you hover over the main item. And this actually controls the sub-menus and the sub-sub-menus. And we control the text color over here. So we can set the text colors of these guys. Now to set the text itself, you can click over here and then change the text using the text menu. And to change this background over here, which is black, when you click over here and when you click here, not on the menu item itself, but on the full sub menu, here's where you can change the color to something else. I'm gonna undo this. So if you can't find some setting in the widget, that means that you should set it up in Muse. Then we have our menu item in the social menu. You have 2 states for these guys because we don't need mouse down and active state, because the social menu leads you to the social websites, which means it leads you away from this website. So we only need the normal and the hover state colors. And this is the social menu over here. So you can set both the normal and hover colors for both the initial state and the after state. Okay, moving on. Then we have our mobile menu. And it's the same logic as with the desktop menu or the main menu. We have the background. When you click on the... Let me show you this. I'm going to change this color. Even though we are setting this color through the widget, so it won't be brown. When you export, it will be whatever the widget tells it. I'm doing this to show you this. When the mobile menu breakpoints start to appear, we have another background color over here, as you can see. And we also have the option to choose its colors. So mobile menu, background color, let's say green. Opacity 0.2. This is the mobile menu underline. That's the initial state. I hope you're getting the hang of how this works. Then we have the after state. Let's change it to purple and the underlying color to something like this. And that's the mobile menu background. Now, since we have the composition over here, you're actually styling the mobile menu items in the composition directly, in the accordion composition. Then we have the logo images. And the logic is same here. We have main menu logo images. That's our desktop. As we have our background for the desktop and for mobile, we have the logos for desktop and the mobile. And for each of those, we have a logo for the initial state of the menu and for the after state of the menu, as you can see here as well. And let me show you that live. So this is the desktop. And here we have the initial state logo, which turns into the after state logo. So those are 2 images. You can have completely different images for these states. And on top of that, when you resize and when your mobile menu appears, this is the 3rd image. That's the mobile menu logo for the initial state. And this is the 4th image. It's the mobile menu image for the after state. Okay. You have the sample files received with the widget, so you'll know what dimensions work best with the widget. Then we have something called a shrink point, and this represents the number of pixels you scroll before the transition of the menu happens from the initial state into the after state. It's best to leave it at the default, the 200 pixels, but you can change it. Then we have the main hover effect, and let me show you again the hover effect over here. This white effect happening over here, that's the hover effect. Most of our hover effects either use this color or a line, like an overline or an underline. And you can set all of these in the widget itself. So let's get back to the widget settings and go back into the main hover effect. As you saw, in the initial state, we had a white hover effect with 0.1 opacity. You can make a more drastic effect by giving it a different color or a higher opacity value, like 0.5 or 1 or whatever you like. And you also control this color for the after state. And as I said, underline, overline color, because some of our effects require underline or overline styling. You can also choose these. Let me show you this. For instance, you can see here we have the underline effect. And if we change the demo, here we don't have the underline effect. Here we have this kind of a sweep to top hover effect. Okay, once you set up these, you have the effect itself. So you can play with these and choose the one you like the most. Then we have our social menu hover effect, and that's the social icons you see right next to the main menu. And you have a number of effects for it as well. So choose that one as well. And we have submenus entrance animations. And let me show you what this is. If we go to demo 1, we have the submenus set to fading animations. You see the menus fade. And when we go to the next demo, now these are set to zoom, as you can see. And on the third demo, we also have fading. On the fourth demo, we have the flipping, the horizontal and vertical flipping. You also set these through the widget. You have a lot of options for how you want your submenus to react. And that's about it. As I said, when you're editing your mobile menu, click on the wrapper. Don't forget, both of the menus have their own wrappers. So I personally do this, 2000 times 3000. Then I open the menu. When I finish editing, I always use object copy size and position to all breakpoints and object copy text formatting to all breakpoints, starting from the deepest items outward. Again, if you want to style these, you can click over here and change these stylings to something else, like that. And finally, you can see this plus icon and you can see this icon over here. These are actually sprites, and those are the images that change their position based on the state of your item. So it has one position in normal state, one position in the hover state, and one position in the after state. Let me just show you how sprite looks. Here is the sprite for your accordion widget, and you have a version for bright menus and for dark menus. And here you have 5 options for your menu icon. That's this over here. Let me just resize. Here, that's the sprite as well. As you can see, it has 3 states. You can see that for the dark menu we've used the white version. And these are different as well for the dark and light versions. And the best way to change these guys is to click on the assets panel, and you'll already see that it's selected the accordion menu icon sprite for dark menus. So you can click, right click and relink and choose the other one. But make sure if you're changing this, change it to either this or this. And if you're changing this, change it to one of these. So this is the menu icon sprite, and this is the accordion menu icon sprite. And that's about it. So have fun using our Muse Responsive Menu Ultimate widget, and make sure to send us examples of what you've done with our widget. If you like the widget, you can always share and let other people know about this cool responsive menu widget. And that's it. Bye.